Atlanta, Mystery Prize. And this is a song that I wrote one day in the car. I spent a lot of time in the car. I very rarely fly for tours. Mostly I string them together in these long journeys where I'll go out for months at a time on the road by myself. And mostly when I'm in the car alone like that, I listen to NPR because I'm a nerd. And I was listening to NPR one day in my car. I was driving from upstate New York into Vermont, and I was taking this ferry. Because, I got to this break in the road where there was a large body of water, and I thought, oh God, what do I do? And then I saw there was this little house, and I walked up to the little house, and there was a window on the house, and I looked inside, and there was this little man, and he had a big beard, and he said, this is a toll! See, you have to pay the toll! And I was like, oh my God, there is a troll here making me pay a toll to take a bridge or a ferry or something. It was very exciting. So I paid the bridge toll. And then, sure, true to his word, a ferry showed up, and I drove my car onto the ferry. Now, this is not a very populated area of upstate New York / Vermont, so this ferry only journeys across the water once per hour, and luckily I was not in a hurry. So I drove my car onto the ferry, and I'm just sitting there kind of waiting for it to take off, and I get really distracted by this interview that I heard on NPR. It was with a guy. He's a Spanish professor at a university in South Florida, and he had been hired by the U.S. government to translate on their behalf after there was a big raid, an immigration services raid on a facility in Iowa, and 397 people were being deported for working without documentation. And he got there and he said, wait, you want me to say what? To who? And he realized he did not want to be the bearer of this message to anyone. So he thought about, going home out of protest and not participating, but he decided that he would be more useful as a compassionate presence and a smiling face. So he stayed and tried to deliver the news that he had with as much grace and dignity as possible. And he took some notes and he wrote a series of essays about what he observed there for the New York Times. And, it's while he was making the rounds promoting these essays, doing interviews, that I got involved because I heard him on the radio. And there I was sitting in my car listening to his story. And I was just completely engrossed. And it was really inspiring. And when the story stopped, I leaned forward and I touched the power button on the car to make the radio turn off because I wanted some quiet to really think about what I just heard. And the craziest thing happened just at that moment that I pushed the off button on my stereo. The car began to move. The boat that the car was on was beginning to glide across the water. And there were these trees floating past my windshield, and there was the water going, disappearing under the front of the boat. And something about this mesmerizing moment of just floating across this body of water made me think about people who travel so far from home and work in really unpleasant conditions and often are, dealing in a language that is not native to their head. And, generally are treated, sort of disrespectfully. And I thought, wow, these people are working so hard and dealing with so much, and often they're doing all of this hard work and bearing all of this to send money to the people they love most in the world who they never get to see because they're here working in this economy. And something about it just turned my head upside down. So I don't know the answers to anything political, but at that moment I decided to start writing an upbeat jig about U.S. immigration policy. Hooray! Because that's what folk singers do. So that's where the song comes from. It's called Margarita. The sun hanging straight up in the sky. Leave the apples in their baskets, let them rot and turn to wine. The cold averted glances, the fear in my bones. When I leave, I'll leave the long arm and the trips behind the shed, bundles in my mattress and the shaking of their heads. I'll fare thee well to no one, no, I will disappear. Margarita, you're the reason I've been up at dawn. Margarita, you're the reason I've been cash. I'll uncross every border and I will untake every breath till you're standing in a chapel and we're making promises. Oh, the girls will get new dresses and the boys get baseball caps. We'll answer every question, we will dance till every bell's drop. The celebration has been rung out of our shoes. Make love till the morning, make love till we can't move. Margarita, you're the reason I've been up at dawn. Margarita, you're the reason I've been holding on. Margarita, you're the queen of every beggar's sign. Margarita, Margarita. Well, it was early in November on a cloudless sunny day. The sky grew thick with thunder and the birds all flew away. They shackled us like killers, we walked in single file. And Margarita, they've been talking, but I ain't heard a word. I've been dreaming you could see me in my cell of steel and dirt, hidden from that sun, hanging straight up in the sky. I've been plucked like an apple, left to rot and turn to wine. Margarita,